Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello? Can you still hear me? You have to unmute yourself to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So I'm sharing my PowerPoint and starting the class. Okay, so then you have to section. Right. So bear it's on the board. I don't know. Right. So today we are going to start with the first part of physiology, that is physiology of coordination. We talked about it that the body systems in physiology, we divide them into two sections, and those two sections are number one, that is coordination physiology, the system, the physiology of coordination systems, that is nervous system, muscles, and endocrines. And then we have to divide, keep all the other systems in the second, we call them systems physiology or the body systems physiology. So today we are starting with physiology of coordination. Now we'll start with the first part, that is the nervous system. The nervous system is, we can say, the master system, the master controlling system of the body in all of the animals, human beings. First of all, we are going to talk about physiological basis of neuronal function. Let's brief about the nervous system over. Hello, can you hear me now? Please respond.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, nervous system. First of all, we divide it into three major divisions: sensory division, motor division, and the CNS division. If we can slightly go up than that, then we can say there is peripheral division and there is central division. Peripheral division means that sensory plus motor. What happened that physically sensory and motor are at the same place. Like whenever we are whenever our body is recording some information, like in the previous class we talked about the recording of the environment by a sensor in feedbacks. For example, if we are recording something, like if our hand is touching something, feeling it's hot or cold, then definitely that information is going towards our CNS, the spinal cord mostly, and that part has the same place. If this decision comes from my finger one, this information will come back to my finger one, mostly. So what happened that these divisions are actually arbitrary divisions. These are functional divisions. These are not structural divisions, because peripheral nervous system is virtually present at the same place. The recording, the sensor which is recording, and the motor which is coming back to that place. So these divisions, remember, are functional divisions and not structural divisions. हो सकता है दो अलग-अलग function, अलग-अलग divisions practically, physically, structurally एक ही जगह पर हो. This is possible. So there is sensory. There are two main divisions: peripheral, central, and then peripheral is divided into two. That is sensory and motor. So let's go ahead. We have to start with physiological basis of neuronal function. So whether it's sensory division, whether it's motor division, whether it's CNS division, it always consists of, or we can say, based upon the function of one kind of cells. These are neurons. Sensory division have neurons, motor division have neurons, and CNS division also have neurons. So we'll start from neuron and then we'll go up to the divisions. So there are various types of neurons. Oh, yeah. Oh, it is frozen here. I'm changing my slides. It's not responding. Okay, so we are showing here various types of neurons. Here you can see that there is a huge variety in neuron. Neuron is a nerve cell, is a structure. We can say this is a functional structural unit of all of the nervous system. But there is a huge variety among neurons because there is a huge variety of sensory requirements of the recording of the environment. There are huge, we can say, requirements, so many requirements for responding, that is the motor neuron, and even more are required in the CNS to analyze that information. Because CNS neurons have to receive the information from the sensors, analyze the whole of the information. Maybe one cell is analyzing, maybe a series of cells is analyzing, and ultimately reaching a decision. And after reaching a decision, sharing that decision with, I don't say sharing, I should say that ordering certain system, which is a motor system, and then maybe muscles, then maybe endocrine gland or something else to perform a particular function. So there's a huge variety of neurons. Here you can see different types of neurons, like there may be tree-like, there may be very, very complex, having so many of, you can say, do you know the exact basic structure of neuron? Okay, great. Great. So you can see here that so many dendrites are there, fewer dendrites, but very, very long paths. Fewer having dendrites on two sides. See, some is having dendrites like spreading like flowers. Some have very few dendrites, some are very few. And different shapes are there. So there's a huge variety of these neurons, which actually lead towards the complex functions that they have to perform. This is just to show that variety. But the basic structure is same. So we are taking a typical neuron, that is a motor neuron, as an example. As we know that the lectures which we are recording, we are putting them on a line. We have to use the content that is either in information commons, that is Creative Commons, that is free to use, or maybe we have to use our own. So I'm trying to use my own drawings or maybe my own creation. So I have converted just that drawing. तो हमें थोड़ा copyright का इसमें पूरा, बल्कि थोड़ा नहीं, पूरा ख्याल है, because we are putting that online for anyone to use. So neuron, अब तो इसलिए drawing थोड़ी सी Those are like those are great achievements. I'm not artist, of course. So it's a typical neuron, which is showing the structure of it. You can see here. Let me take a pen. There's a point. Okay. So here you can see the main part of it. I think everyone is aware, but still you should be able to draw it and name all the parts. So I'm just so this is the cell body, first part of it. Then the dendrites, name them. There may be more branches to the dendrites. The nucleus in the center, and this neuron, something which is not shown here, have a lot of mitochondria, because for neuronal activity a lot of energy is utilized. So this cell mostly have lots and lots of mitochondria inside to produce that ATP which is required for its function. Then this small part, which is an extended, you can see slightly extended in comparison to all other uh, extensions, is called axon hillock, because this is leading towards axon. Now this part is important, this hillock, because what happens that whenever an action potential, I hope everyone is aware of action potential. Action potential. थोड़ी थोड़ी कोई बात नहीं हम पढ़ेंगे अभी आगे but idea तो है ना what is it, right? So action potential, whenever it has to be generated, actually it starts here, because then when it reaches the axon, this next tail, when it reaches the axon, it is not reversing. It's just going from this cell to the next cell. This is called all or none phenomenon. You have heard of all or none in the impulse, nerve impulse. All or none means that when that impulse reaches the axon, this will not come back. This will be transmitted to the next cell. ऐसे ये लेटर को पोस्ट कर दिया, अभी वापस नहीं आएगा, except for receiver उसको receive ना करे. This is like that. But this part is important, because what happens that any message that has to be transmitted to the next cell and it is received here on any of the dendrite or cell body or whatever, if all those messages which are coming here collect and reach at this place, then they will be able to enter the axon. Otherwise, not. It means that that spike which is produced due to the incoming message should reach here to generate an impulse. That's why this part is very important. This is called axon law. Then the axon itself, which is, we can say, an extension which have to send message to the next neuron. Now, if this neuron is recording a message, analyzing it, and sending it to the next neuron, this will be called the presynaptic neuron. You can call it a presynaptic neuron, because this will send message to the next neuron, and the one which will receive this message on the other end, somewhere here, will be called a postsynaptic neuron, to which this is sending the information. So presynaptic, but every neuron may be pre or post. You know what? This one is a presynaptic neuron when it is sending message to this. But when this is receiving this message here, you can see there is another neuron whose branches are attached here. These end bulbs of another neuron are attached here on this cell body. In this case, this one will become a postsynaptic neuron. And this, which is sending it a message, will be a presynaptic neuron. So one neuron may be pre and postsynaptic. Pre for one, post for another. There is a possibility always. Then the motor neuron, not all neurons, but the motor neurons will have this myelin sheaths. Any idea what myelin sheath is? It's a lipid. Basically it's a cell which are wrapped around the cell of this axon. Maybe single, maybe more than one, and this is having basically a lipid substance that act as we can say just like insulator. इसकी detail हम बाद में करेंगे. Act as almost insulator. So it increases the speed of conduction very fast. Whenever what happens when impulse comes here, if it is insulated, it will move very fast and quickly move towards the next one. And this is very important, particularly in those neurons which are having long axon. Like for example, the one which is sending message from our backbone, like spinal cord, to our toe of the foot, for example. It's a long path, maybe up to 3 feet. considered to be one of the longest cells of the body, right? So axon is coming out of the spinal cord and going into the toe of our, we see first toe of our foot. That may go up to 3 feet. It's a very, very long path. And here is something hot, even here, it's too far. See, I think, yeah, so guess curling 2 feet, more than 2 feet. Okay. So if this message takes so long, then what will happen? We have touched something hot, and before we take it back, what will happen? This will be burned. To increase that speed and velocity of that conduction, what happens? There was one person in the world who was having this disorder of some problem with this system. And what happens that he was getting that information very slow. For example, if you see crossing the road, if you see a car coming by, his brain will analyze in much less than double or more time to see that car, because eyes are seeing, but they are sending information to the brain, takes long. So he was a very good volleyball, I think volleyball or basketball player because of that. क्योंकि बॉल उसको अपनी तरफ स्लो आती हुई नजर आती है, उतने में रिस्पॉन्ड करता है, मगर बेचारे की डेथ कैसे हुई? एक्सीडेंट से, क्योंकि रोड पर क्रॉस कर रहा था और उसको गाड़ी उसकी तरफ आती है, उसको बहुत स्लो नजर आई, जितने में उसको पता चला कि गाड़ी आ रही है उतने में So this is very important, very important in receiving the message, sending the message. All those are considered. Many neurons in the brain not having this, or even not having this, because they have to transmit message in very short distances. You have seen the variety previously, before their pellet. What happens that few neurons have to transmit message for micrometers. They do not need this insulation, so they are not having this. So last part of it is the end feet or end bulb. You see, axon, we can call them axon terminals, we can call them end feet, and we can also call them end bulbs. Here these are, right? And these have to make a synapse with the next neuron. They make synapse connection with the other neuron on their cell body or on their dendrites, and then they have to transmit the message. So these are the main parts. Now, direction of impulse is always from the cell body towards the axon and to the dendrites. It may be in the cell body, however, here you can see, ये draw किए मैंने यहाँ से शुरू किए हैं, ये lots हैं. On the dendrites and on the cell body, this directioning is not necessary. It may be bidirectional. On cell body, on the dendrites, direction of impulse may be bidirectional, may be unidirectional. It goes from dendrite to cell body or cell body towards axon, but it may move in other directions. But in axon, this is always unidirectional, except for a disease. I mean, if there is something disease state, then it may be reversed at most, but this will be almost 100% except for disease unidirectional in axon, or bidirectional or unidirectional on cell body and dendrites. So this is the direction. Okay, now this is the thing I was just talking about. To show you the divisions. Huh? Well, let's see if there's a possibility of length or something. Yes, we have. Okay, let's try. Let's see what's the response. फिर वो एक फ्रेम में नहीं आ रही. स्लाइड शो पर ये चलिए इस तरह से मैं इसको एक्सप्लेन जुबानी कर देती हूँ. आप इस तरह से don't see these surroundings and just see this basic thing. Okay, so how the nervous system function is basically explaining this. First thing is that a stimulus is required. A stimulus is required. Something has to stimulate the nervous system, like light in case of eyes, the sound waves in case of ears, or see blood pressure in case of, for example, a baroreceptor inside the arteries. Okay. Maybe pH in case of I don't exactly remember the receptor. Someone is saying something. Yeah, आपस में बात करें. Okay, so stimulus, pressure, touch, light, sound, any stimulus. This will stimulate some sensory neuron. Now, there are accessory structure, like eye is an accessory structure, and we know there is an optic nerve inside. Ear is an accessory structure, and it is having the nerve inside. Our hand, our skin is an accessory structure, and there are nerves which are attached on the base of it. So any stimulus which can activate an accessory structure which is associated with a sensory neuron. This is also called efferent nerve fiber. Efferent means that this is sending some information to, just like efferent vessels, which are sending information blood to the heart. They are sending information to a CNS part, that is nervous system, the brain. Now, mostly this signal will be an all or none signal. That is, remember again the axon. If this signal is generated, this will have to be transmitted to the postsynaptic neuron. If it is not generated, did not reach the axon hill off, then nothing will happen. So if it is signal enough to reach the CNS, then this will make a synapse and transmit the message in the CNS. So sensory division ends, and you see the CNS division starts. But in fact, both are connected. ये जो division हमने बनाई है, ये सिर्फ functional है, because this neuron is going and entering into the brain. From the eye, from skin, from ears, from any other part of body, it's entering the CNS. So now we have entered the CNS division. There may be one interneuron, there may be a set of interneurons which is receiving this information, then analyzing this information. Maybe it is analyzed. We will talk about that how learning and memory is formed. Then we बहुत डिटेल में तो नहीं कर सकते इस कोर्स में, थोड़ा सा करेंगे how learning and memory is formed. So these interneurons, based upon this information, have to decide what response should be given, or even some response should be given or not. So these neurons, maybe this single neuron decide, maybe a series of neurons decide what decision have to be taken. When they finish their decision, then they actually send this information to the back to. आप ये देखें कि यहाँ it's coming here towards the motor division, but actually, in fact, it is sending that information back to this place most probably. हम इसको बना अलग से रहे हैं, लेकिन एक्चुअली ये इन्फॉर्मेशन जो स्किन से आ रही है, ये वापस स्किन को ही ऑर्डर करेगी, राइट? दिस इज टू एक्सप्लेन द डिवीजन. सो देन the motor neuron will send information to the next part. For example, in case of if we have seen something dangerous, we'll try to, our decision will be to move away, and all muscles and nerve systems will be we can say activated, which will help us in moving away, like muscles like different glands. So for example, fight and fight reaction, very possible, only anything else. Okay, and I think I'm about to go back because I'm lost. Never try escape. Correct. All right. So कोशिश करेंगे next time इस table को पीछे का. So this is telling us about sensory division, CNS division, and we call it effector division. Effectors who have to actually implement the decision. So for today we stop here, because next we have to start that this was about structural aspects of we say introduction to this neuron and their functioning. And next we will talk about resting membrane potential. That for an action potential to be generated, the cell should have some potential difference across the membrane, and that is called resting membrane potential. And definitely we cannot start it right now, because we have to talk about a lot of concepts which are associated with resting membrane potential. And when we know the resting membrane potential, the potential difference across the cell membrane of these particular types of cells, which are neurons, because these are the cells who are having this property. Other cells of the body cannot do that because they do not have such potential difference. How that potential difference is generated, which is called resting membrane potential, we have to talk a lot about the cell membrane of the neuronal cell. We'll talk about it in next class. Just stop here. If anyone have a question regarding the previous section, you can ask. All or none phenomenon is this, that whenever and okay, all or none phenomenon is this, that whenever an impulse is generated, see, it reaches the axon below, then it for sure will be transmitted towards the next node. It will not be stoppable if it reaches the axon below. Now what happens that we हम इसी में discuss करेंगे. The sodium ion enters inside. You remember about action potential? Sodium ions enters inside. They rush inside. A lot of sodium ions are inside, and that's why we can. Sorry, action potential is generated. Now, if all the sodium which is coming in moves towards the axon hillock from all sides, and then reaches the axon hillock in enough quantity, and we call that threshold. There is a particular level. If they reaches that threshold, then they'll for sure send a message. And there is no message like which is more or less a message. Strong message, weak message. This is not there. Cell is just transmitting the message to the next. So this is called all or none. Message जाएगा ये नहीं जाएगा. ये नहीं होगा कम जाएगा ज़्यादा जाएगा. No, nothing. It's just all or none. That's why all of the nervous system work on what we call just like a binary function in computer. 1, 0. I message transferred, O not transmitted. And then the brain do have a particular place. सारे न्यूरॉन आपका ऑप्टिक एरिया दिस एरिया ब्रेन इज लाइन, इसे कहते हैं लेबल लाइन प्रिंसिपल. ये ब्रेन के अंदर जाकर डिसीजन होता है कि वो ये इन्फॉर्मेशन कहाँ से आई है, फिर उससे क्या रिजल्ट मिला. एंड दैट इज ऑल फंक्शन ऑफ द ब्रेन. दैट इज आवर ब्रेन इज वेरी all or none mean message will be transmitted I, not transmitted O. That's all based on sodium ions. In most of the cells, there are few cells who are having other ions as well. कुछ ऑर्गेनिज्म है जिनमें और आयंस भी ये फंक्शन करते हैं लाइक कैल्शियम और पोटेशियम, लेकिन मेजॉरिटी हैव सोडियम. एनी अदर क्वेश्चन?
You said that the direction of the message is bidirectional in the dendrite and the cell body.
Maybe not always, but it could happen
Yeah, but it is maybe the direction
in axon.
So that if the cell body sends a signal to dendrites, then the dendrites will be attached to the axon of the previous.
Yes, I got
But the
it.
direction is unidirectional in axon, so how would the signal be transmitted?
What happens that axon is the part which is not having any external connection to synapses. Axons don't make synapses, so reversal of information is not possible because they are connected to the next neuron only in one direction. That is the end bulbs. On all other parts there are no synapses. Even on end terminals there are no synapses. Synapses are only there in the dendrites. Now second part what you are actually talking about. What happened? That backflow of information, is it possible or not? Now it depends. It is possible in the case of electrical synapses, because what happened, some cells are there are two types of synapses. You heard of chemical and electrical. Chemical, in which neurotransmitter have to be coming out of a cell and entering the other cell. The other is electrical. Oh, waiting time ends. Okay, hold on, I'll tell them later. So in case of electrical synapses, what happened, that cell is connected by a very close protein channel. Both cells, they are having protein channels close together like this, very close, that ions cannot escape here and there, and ions will be transmitted from this part to other part. So in those cells, what happened, that from postsynaptics, if as you are saying that if they go back towards the terminals, then yes, they can enter back into the presynaptic terminal. तो वो बाई डायरेक्शनल इवन इन दिस केस भी हो जाते हैं कि एक से जो रिसीव कर रहा है उससे वापस भी चले जाते हैं. दिस इज पॉसिबल, but normally if there are chemical synapses, it's not possible because at that membrane, dendrites and cell body, there are no secretory vesicles which are having neurotransmitters. वो होते ही नहीं है physically, इसलिए वो वापस तो नहीं जा सकते. Transmitter release नहीं हो सकता. Transmitter will be released only on end terminals because they are having it. And the dendrites and cell body are not having any terminals. But in the case of electrical synapses, there will be backflow fine, except for channel is not closed. So mostly it has to be unidirectional. What happened? That presynaptic terminal, after sending the ions inside the postsynaptic, it closes back. So no backflows. Any other question? No? Okay. थोड़ी जल्दी खत्म किया है, इसकी रीजन ये है कि यहाँ पे भी थोड़ा सा इनके साथ इशू था, मैं चाह रही थी कि इनके साथ कोऑर्डिनेट हो, अब मैं उनका रिस्पांस देखूं कैसा कोऑर्डिनेट हो. सो लेट्स सी what happens here, क्योंकि आप लोगों को भी आफ्टर 2 weeks you have to back to अब आप साथ साथ देखते जाओ कैसे हो रहा है सारा. We have done this but by recording. Say stop share so that I can come back to the meeting. Okay. They also have few questions. What is afferent nerve fiber? Okay, that's still great. Well, afferent nerve fiber is the one which sends message towards a central part, central system. That is the fiber, the sensory nerve fiber, which is sending information to CNS. For example, from our skin to the brain, or from our eye to the brain, maybe from our toe of the finger to the spinal cord. Is it answering your question? With this diagram? I don't know. Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this meeting will end in some time. Please write down your names in the chat because I'm recording the chat and take your attendance from that. So we are finishing the today's topic here. If you have any further questions, you can ask. No more? No questions from your side? Your side? Okay. Okay, then thank you. In some time we'll end this meeting. Please write down all of you your names. Okay. Okay. Let's go on there. This chapter is pretty complicated in terms of physiology, so that I thought we should start it in the beginning and try to finish it with all the scripts, and then we can continue with easier in comparison. So शुरू में मुश्किल वाला काम कर लें फिर इजी हो जाएगा.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, Hajra, you have a question.
Ma'am, when will you send the recording of this class?
In some time.
I mean, will you send it through email?
I have to convert it, and I do not have software here. So when I'll go home, I'll send it. So probably in the evening. Because I have.
So you are in the university right now.
Yes. So
okay, so the next question.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Please continue.
Okay, thank you. All right. So.
Ma'am, are we going to have on-campus classes from the next week? Because the next week we'll be going for the even roll number students.
Yes. What will happen that from next week, the even number, the students who are even having even roll numbers will be coming to the campus as per rule. And these students who are having odd roll numbers will be at campus. That's the university policy. So according to that, we'll follow. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
And thank you for attending the meeting. I'm closing the meeting now. You'll get this recording in the evening, right?